Lock and load, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot to talk about. Today, we're not going to be watching a clip. We're going to be diving straight away into the analysis. There's plenty to talk about. Of course, I will share my thoughts on what's going on. And more so, we will look at what the charts are telling us that practically is going to happen. Now, this is my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below. Of course, all the links are in the description. Don't forget to join the community now while it's still discounted. $10 for $10 a month for those who just want to get started. $72 if paying annually, or $90 or $10. Of course, though both of those are still discounted to join the community. This is full access to all the aspects of the Discord. This is just basic, but we'll talk about that at the end. Right now, let's dive into the chart because we have a lot to talk about. I hope you guys like the new layout I have right now, right above me. If you pay attention, this one kind of breaks down and tells you how stochastic RSI, stochastic relative strength index, functions, whether it's breaking below 20, that's oversold territory, overbought territory above 80. Of course, 50 is the middle ground, the center, the neutral zone, if you will. The overall neutral zone lasts between 20 and 80, where we decide on the direction. We get a signal in the directionality overall. Now, let's get into things. Those who don't know what's going on, it's very important that you understand when it comes to the behavior and correlation between the continuous contract, or if you will, the futures contract, and the necessity of the price action today to move higher and fill in that gap. Of course, we've been following and tracking that level that we're looking at right now, that 7,134, for quite some time. As you can see, that level in particular played a role many times. The price action respected it multiple times, of course, since it opened up or solidified this area of a gap. Of course, gaps are just side effects. Those who actually know and understand technical analysis, or how to analyze the charts, to be more precise, and more so, we can see that level again played a role just recently. No, we knew that level will play a role again and again, given that this is the level that is being tested. Now we're going to go over the smaller time frame, so that did not caught us off by surprise. Some of you, of course, who are more aware of the initiated, if you will, those who've gone through the academy with me, or those who are of the community, I will show exactly how my community was more than prepared for what is happening and what is coming. Probably this price action has caught all of you by surprise. My community is more than prepared. In fact, let me show off a little bit real quick. Just throughout today, as you can see, 23rd of April, I was posting, first of all, that level before we got to retest, as we were sort of nearing for a retest to it. As you can see, of course, the time is, my Israeli time right now is 8:59 p.m. So as you can imagine, 3:48 was before the market even opened. So that's why we were looking at the futures contract. Now we got that confirmation. You see that retest onwards throughout the day. Of course, I was updating. Now would you look at that, kind of highlighting the retest of the level that we were anticipating that retest. Here you got a picture of that very retest up close and personal. You can see how accurate the price action tests that particular level. Here we are looking at the regular contract post-market open and the correlation to that level of why the market had to go there to fill in that gap. As we saw, that gap was filled, and then the price action broke down. So Greg, where's that bit where you were anticipating or sort of predicting the price action? As you can see literally here, now it's done, referring to the gap that was filled. As you can see right there, as it says, now it's, well, no, it's done. I guess I'm an idiot, and I was, well, the intention was now it's done. And still high, but not for long. As you can see, that was still when the price action was at 7,138. And still, if right now comparing the time, that was 5:53, so basically roughly around 3 hours ago. So before all of the price action that you're seeing taking place right now, I've anticipated that we're not going to stay long retesting those levels. Now let's go into the momentum, which again, you can see a breakdown of how the momentum works right above me. There is a whole layout right there above me that shows and break down how this very specific tool that we use to measure momentum, our speedometer, if you will, for how quick we're moving up or down. Now, as you can see, we now started generating a downwards channel. Yes, this is a newer channel, something rather fresh. We're generating it via the price action as you're seeing it play out. Now, currently we are retesting that channel that you see, the longer duration one that we were moving within the framework of, right? As you can see, that level and that level were basically retests and confirmation for that channel being sort of at place and being respected. As you can see, of course, the median was tested multiple times. It itself was generated by the price action, of course, if you understand moving averages and how they function on the grand scheme of things. So right now we're seeing some form of correction, but as you can see, this is probably not going to last. At least on the 1 minute, it appears that the momentum, even though riding high right now, already having convergence, divergence, so all that confluence, basically cross over the forces. You can see we're becoming bearish dominant, red dominant, and gonna see that momentum breaking inwards and basically potentially leading up to a retest of that bottom of the channel and a continuation of the price action towards 7,000. Why am I highlighting 7,000 although we have 7,002? 0.28, 7,002.28 is our previous all-time high, which potentially is going to be retested on the way down. Realistically speaking, the level that matters more is the round 7,000 that is right next to it. Although, of course, we're probably going to get stuck in this very narrow range. But let's see. This does imply that we're going to be moving downwards shortly. But how strong that is, not too strong. Of course, that's why we sort of switch over to the 5 minutes where we get an idea of a longer duration of price action. Looking at 5 minutes, we potentially can assess roughly at least 20-30 minutes outwards, several candlesticks of sets of 5 minutes basically. So about 4, 5, 6 of them, if you will, not longer further out than that. Beyond that, we would be more so speculating. So this appears to be bullish. We are just crossing median, so it's not going to be also far-fetched to see if we will end up retesting that 7,115. Yes, I know some of you think we're going to continue just downwards in this continuous downwards motion, but that's not how the market works. It's more of a balancing / rebalancing act. Right now, as you guys can tell, the price action is testing almost this artificially made wedge out of two channels. We are basically going in and out, fading in and out, but as we were going to have a crossover of the forces here shortly, and it seems that more so this is corrective rather than motive. Corrective, that means weaker, and so generally the directionality of the price action remains to be bearish, in other words, downwards. So far we're seeing, although actively bullish, but not for long. Now, we're seeing the short range channel, the moving average that we just spoke about, is being tested, as you can see. It does seems like we're becoming more so bullish. We are bullish dominant in bearish territory. Why bearish territory? Because we are below 20. Below 20 is oversold territory, which usually implies more so bearish directionality and bearish momentum. In other words, now what we're seeing objectively right now is a crossover. So potentially we're now transitioning and going to become bullish again. Now let's see if that is the case. We are objectively testing that bottom of the channel, and we may end up retesting some of those levels that we were testing before hitting downwards. If some of you here gonna get the idea that the price action is gonna break down today, which by the way, yes, it can, and will not turn back ever again. No, that's not how things work. The same way on the way up we have downwards corrections, and on the way down we have upwards corrections. In fact, those who do not understand cyclicalities and the scale of things don't realize this entire motion is corrective. Now, if we're looking at the 45 minutes, what we realize is that we already became bearish. That is a longer, or rather larger time frame than the 30 minutes or the 5 minutes. Thus, it implies a longer duration of the trend and directionality that we're seeing in our tool, in our stochastic RSI. Right now, we're bearish dominant, right? Objectively, force-wise, and we are in bearish territory, which, although not fully, we're not in oversold territory yet in both ends, on both the K and the D, the green and the red, both moving averages. Once they both cross below the 20, then we will become a lot more bearish, right? So as we can see right now, we're still partially on our way there, not fully there, but we are bearish dominant on the 45 minutes. In other words, the duration of this process may imply that it's going to be longer than you guys think. I see my camera again went bananas. Give me a sec. Let's hope I can get it running again real quick. I don't know why it's doing that lately. All right. No, we're not back to normal. We'll see. If I'm not going to be lazy, I'm going to cut this bit later. I'm sorry for all that occurring. All right. Are we good? We're good. So, as you guys were seeing, we're now fighting, if you will, arguing with the bottom of the channel. The argument here whether we're breaking out or returning back into it. If we're returning back into it, we're potentially looking at highs as high as 7,200 and then some, all the way to 7,300-ish, just like Tom Lee said. But where Tom Lee is absolutely wrong is that we found the bottom, which he himself couldn't admit during the interview, which was hilarious. Although I don't really think we will conquer these highs, just objectively, this is where the channel is. Looking at the directionality and the structure, we may end up testing higher highs. Could that be? Well, let's see what the market is saying. I assure you right now, if you look for a true bear that understands how to analyze the charts properly and will give you objective, data-driven analysis, you'll probably have to look for, you know, pretty far. You're not going to find one in several miles, if you will. And in fact, the only objective one that I have seen in the YouTube sphere, if you will, the finance YouTube sphere, is, dare I say so, and bolster myself. Most other people are not professional people. They are hobbyists. They are amateurs, if you will, people who trade and so on, but never professionally worked in the industry, nor do actually understand strategies, nor what they're talking about, and never managed an account other than their own. Now, which I have for many, many years, by the way. Those who are not aware, I do come from the industry. I'm now in my very late 30s, in fact, just bordering on 40. And I can tell you that I worked in the industry in the various professions, down from a nobody junior all the way to a senior account manager and my own independent analyst for many years, over a decade plus, and then went independent to do this, to be a full-time independent analyst, if you will, and YouTuber, by the way, part of things that I do. So as you can tell right now here on a one hour chart, we are looking at significant downwards pressure, obviously, right, as we were squeezing out that pseudo bullish. Why pseudo? Because although it was meant to be bullish, as you can see, and you zoom out, it was mainly moving sideways, right? And right now we're seeing the price action trying to penetrate back in and close and fill in that gap, which we almost filled in. We were just shy of, you know, of filling it in by what is that, $6 ish, literally, even if not less. But arguably we will see the continuation of the downwards pressures. We can see right now on the chart here, we're becoming strongly bearish. The stronger the divergence, the stronger, or rather longer, the downwards, in this case, trend will last. Of course, if it was the other way around, it's a bullish trend. In this case, it's a bearish one. Of course, the larger time frame implies a longer duration of the process. So in other words, so nobody will tell you, while everybody's now being confused about where the market is headed, I can tell you the market is headed downwards. In fact, we will conquer new lower lows, something that I warned about in advance. More so, if you have seen my Palantir video, you'd have seen that before all of this even happened, looking back a couple of months ago, when we were still moving through this period sideways, this period throughout basically the end of December 2025, if you will, January, February, the entirety of this period, while we were moving sideways. Already at that stage, I was implying that the S&P will go down, correct back up. Yes, this is slightly more excessive than I was expecting. It simply is an outcome of where the channel is, something that has to do with the moving averages and the structure of the channel. Again, it has nothing to do with sort of my inability to read. Yes, read. Again, this is slightly more excessive than my expectation was, but on the grand scheme of things, as you guys can see, even though we over-penetrated my expected high, we will still confirm and make that lower low that I'm expecting and warning you about. While right now, if you even look, far and wide, you'll not find anyone that will tell you and give you that objective analysis, and everyone else will tell you, oh, to the moon kind of thing, which is just ridiculous. Here again, whether I like what I see or whether I don't like what I see, you'll always get the objective analysis. Now, something I was warning everyone about, as you can see, the 4-hour duration, something that basically implies a longer duration and lasting trend of any type. Given the directionality, you can see right there, we are objectively strongly bearish now, with again clear divergence, entering bearish territory, again riding low, as you can read right above me. Riding low means acceleration, and more so excessive bearish directionality, even more so than what we're seeing right now. So of course, the more we penetrate, once both values here, the K and the D, both penetrate into bear territory, this will become significantly more bearish, and we will see that this in fact is a major hint and a major signal towards that downwards movement that I'm telling you about, while everyone else is telling you how you're about to miss out a generational wealth opportunity, and urging you to basically throw your entire life's savings at the market, while the market makers and the institutions are literally liquidating like there is no tomorrow. It's up to you. I'm not here to tell you how to manage your portfolio. I'm simply here to show you, facts on the ground as they are, facts at face value, and for you to assess whether you should do one thing or another. So as I was warning for days on end, although this is bullish, but I warned this will not last. As you can see, we're now overturning and becoming more so and more so bearish. Weirdly enough, or not so much, we're doing that exactly at the area where the channel ends, where the ceiling is. Oh, we over-penetrated, Greg. Does that mean we may be moving upwards? Well, we over-penetrated at the bottom as well. In fact, if you pay attention, we've been generating lower lows as we're progressing. Although, yes, we have generated a higher high, unfortunately, and this is kind of an irregularity when it comes to generating that head and shoulders pattern, at least at this stage of the cycle. Is it impossible and pattern breaking? No, it's not. That's why you need to know technical analysis. This is exactly why you need to join the community ASAP while it's still discounted, not pay more, pay less, so you'll have more money to invest in rather than spend on the actual teachings. And you can become like one of or any of my members who are extremely successful. And as you can see and read the testimonials here, my members really learned and understand now, kind of out of the fog, if you will. Now I've demystified, I've unlocked what the market analysis really is like, what it gives you, what sort of an advantage, what can you get, and what abilities will you gain. And this is a good example of that. Within 31 days, one of my members was able to generate close to $200,000 within a single month using these strategies, techniques, and overall technical analysis. As you can see, there are plenty of members right here who have gained various heights with technical analysis. All of those who can read, those are my members from the One-on-One Academy, members who've graduated. I highly recommend you all join in as well, so you will be like them instead of being caught in the dark like everyone else will be right now with their pens down, right? As kind of as the phrase goes, when the tide comes in, we see who's swimming naked. And we're gonna see a lot of naked people very, very soon. And I warned about this multiple times, and so people will then not be able to come in and complain within a week or so. Oh, why did the market didn't tell? The market is screaming and yelling at you any way that it can that is going to break down. The problem is you don't speak the language. You do not understand what it's telling you. And it is telling you, and it has been telling you, in fact, so much so that I knew that this is going to happen. I'm going to link the video of Palantir analysis. We knew that this is going to happen while we were still doing this. So if technical analysis is also fake and also not real and all that blah blah woof of rain dance that people keep telling you, then how the hell did we know the market is going to do exactly that at this stage so early on? And many other things, including the support resistance levels, the various behaviors, the forces, and so on and so on. So looking at basically the daily, we are seeing the directionality change. We are seeing more so bearish momentum sipping in, bearish force, while bullish momentum is dying out, completely being sort of used up, if you will, to the point where we have none left. And now, as you can see, that weekly did over penetrate my expectation to break down at around 50, and yet we are starting to see that convergence starting to occur. The bottom line is we're starting to see how that weekly momentum is going to get suffocated by the bearish momentum around it, and more so, just like I warned you, ladies and gentlemen, even though we're going to have a major bullish trap, yes, trap, and I warned about it. Again, I will link another video that I spoke about that far in advance. And even though the forces here slightly converged on each other, they still remained bearish. The directionality here is bearish, and we're moving on. And the closer we get to the end of the month, which we have basically a week left, a week worth of trading, we're going to get closer to that 50 range. The closer we're going to get to that 50 range, the more we're going to see bearish momentum, bearish price action, downwards price action. And exactly what I'm telling you right now, just as I was able to say in advance that this will play out, I'm now able to tell you that the price action will play out by now, after completing that sideways price action we have for the following little bit of time. Maybe we are moving towards the inauguration of Kevin Warsh, whether it could be, you know, all sorts of things that could be, by the way, a little bit of a wink, wink, hint, hint, some intel, if you will, that I got through my own sources and connections, is that the Israel, Iran, Lebanon, entire region war, if you will, Gaza because Gaza still is in full swing, may restart and go back to full swing this very Sunday. Unfortunately, as happy I am to say and admit that, there is a very high probability that that's exactly what's going to happen. I spoke to my younger brother who has his own sources and told me that, and my own sources imply that very idea. Again, this could be wrong. This is something that is completely speculative, and I'm not gonna sort of, you know, I wouldn't put my dime behind that simply because it seems like, although we knew that in advance, we knew that everything Trump is doing right now is merely stalling, whether it's in preparation for or to pressure more the IRGC and show them how painful can things get. We know the IRGC is not observing the ceasefire properly, and they already broke it. They already attacked multiple ships, multiple tankers. Earlier today and yesterday, they attacked tankers and ships with smaller attack boats and sort of commando units, which appears to be kind of what they're relegated to, simply because most of everything that they had was destroyed, or so it appears for the time being, or at least they're unable to use and utilize these missiles and launchers against the U.S. targets or the global targets, the international targets that are moving around, and so, and more so against us, Israel. I can tell you that it's been rather fairly quiet in Israel here for the past 2 weeks. No missiles whatsoever. But realistically speaking, we all understand that it can and potentially may start any second. And through my sources and my brother's sources and our connections, we understand that this may occur this very Sunday. And we are seeing indications and hints of the momentum behavior and preparation for it. Arguably, those are the institutions, the market makers, those who possess the greater amount of liquidity in the market, who are in the know, closer to the politicians, closer to the major account managers, analysts, and so on, political, geopolitical, technical, and all of the above, and everything in between. And so they can execute positions what appears to be in preparation for. So the whole idea here that we do in my community is learn the language of the market, so we can, in preparation, assess and understand. First of all, we can understand what the market is doing right now actively, and so in preparation, decide what is the best course of action according to the data that we are receiving, that is itself is a print of what the bigger fish are doing. We are small fish that are trying to grab and catch the waves or the currents of the bigger fish. Pretty simple. Now, because they are so big, they simply leave trails and signals of what it is that they are preparing for. And as we can see, the price action definitely has changed its direction. You cannot argue with this. As you can see very clearly, the price action and the directionality of the movement was to the upside, while now right now it's switched moving sideways, although of course it's not going to do that in a straight fashion. Never, never, ever. The market doesn't do things in a linear way. Basically, the market kind of moves and has this ebb and flow, if you will, to the price action, whether it's because of robotic trading, because of the regular, again, ebb and flow, the volatility, just people buying and selling, institutions are doing their own thing, and that back and forth, of course, plays out into the day-to-day volatility that we see play out. Does that mean anything? No, it's more so just, side currents, if you will, side winds. Really what we gotta pay attention to is more so is the breakage of this major channel. As you can see, we now broke out of this channel and now are, if you will, having that play or a retest of that support resistance level. In this case, it was meant to play out as support. As you can see, in this case, since we broke below it, right now it plays out as resistance to prevent us from going back into the channel. We will see whether it plays out. Given the momentum we have on this time frame, which is 1 hour, it's far more likely for it to go downwards. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, overall, in the grand scheme of things, the more we look at the overall signals, we are becoming more so bearish in the short range, which will prevent and will spill over into that weekly, bringing that momentum lower and lower and lower. Once the momentum, of course, loses its sort of wind in its sails, once it does, we will see. And right now, by the way, notice what's going on. Even though technically, objectively, if you again pay attention to what is written right above me, even though we are in, although we're bullish dominant, but since we are in neutral territory and haven't yet fully penetrated into the bullish zone, it's very unlikely for us to see a continuation of that bullish trend. And so it seems like we're dying down. Can it still happen? Definitely. In fact, we have a major resistance line in this case that is absolutely a strong, very strong, almost like reinforced concrete level at, as you can see right there, 7,368.77. It is the 161.80% retracement level on the stochastic RSI. Given the cyclicality that we are observing right now, this is a very important level. The argument here, whether it's going to actually be tested or are we going to collapse. Now, I cannot tell you at this stage of things. I can tell you that it is possible that we're gonna meet that level. Likelihood, I would give it about 50%. In fact, as time progressing, as we're seeing more and more that bearish momentum coming through the smaller time frames, and so it affects the only bullish time frame we have right now, which is the weekly. The more I see that happening, the more unlikely that becomes. I hope now you understand the correlation between the time frames, right? So from here now, it appears to be once that weekly momentum, or bullish momentum that is observable on the weekly time frame right now using the stochastic RSI runs out or dies out, and that bearish dominant momentum that we see building up throughout the various time frames will take hold, especially the 4 hours and the daily, because the smaller time frames, more smaller than that, will be the ones to affect those and will spill over into these. Once these spill over, of course, once the daily is the one that we really want to observe, the more bearish the daily becomes, the more bearish the weekly will become, the more bearish the weekly will become, and we'll have a crossover. Once that happens, we will have our breakdown start to occur. So there is still a little bit of time. So you see, this video is highly valuable. It literally gives you time to prepare and assess what is the best course of action for yourself. Now, honestly, the best course of action for yourself would be to join my community. So you'll stop being like a freaking porcupine in the dark and in the fog that has no idea what the hell is going on. Yeah, I know to some of you it probably means nothing. It's a Russian quote. But those of you who speak Russian understood the joke here. So yeah, this right now is discounted. Why? Because the most basic tier, the introduction tier, is right now $10 and it will become $20 very soon. Right now you can also get it even more so discounted if you pay and tick that little ticker to change and save 20% more on top of the current discount, and it will become only $8 a month. It will give you access to my Discord, not to all these channels, to more of a basic sort of selection of channels, but it will give you enough of an introduction. It will give you access to the casual channel where I also post charts. If on the weekend I post important geopolitical stuff, you're going to have access to all the post board where we post all the important and relevant stuff, whether it's in the finance sphere, in the technology, geopolitics, breaking news, and everything, and then some. Those will get the full access. Those who will pay for the $70 tier. This tier, that $72 tier or $90 tier, depend, the full access one, basically, in other words, will get full access. So pretty much everything you see besides the academy. The academy is what you get when you actually go through the academy and you go and become a graduate, which, by the way, shout out to all my academy members. As you can see, I'm already in the spirit of things today. We're going to have an academy meeting with the members talking about gold, precious metals, and so on. So as you can see, I'm all silver and gold today. I'm already prepared for the meeting. I am in the spirit of things. So yeah, ladies and gents, do this thing for yourself, invest in yourself, in your own knowledge and education, instead of being absolutely blind and almost flying in ether, which, by the way, my members received a newsletter talking about that very same thing. You're not lost, you're just blind to the structure, and so on and so on. There's like so much in technical analysis that really allows you to see what's going on in the market, structure driving the market, basically, as you can see, basically the headline right below, and many other things that my community members benefit from. The newsletter is more so a news thing, so that's why you can see only several of them. But my academy members get plenty other articles that are already made, and exclusive member exclusive content, and so on and so on. So if you want to become like them and not be blinded by what's going on, by the bullshit that the media is telling you right now, and actually understand what's going on, you definitely want to join my community right now, so things like that will not catch you by surprise, while my community is shrugging this off and was more than prepared and understands why this is happening. So just whether it was about to happen, but why is it happening right now? The really important bit, they understand why this price action is taking place right now exactly as it is. The channels, the momentum, the support and resistance levels, the cyclicality, the harmonic patterns, and many other aspects of technical analysis that I'm not even mentioning here. So, right. That's it, ladies and gents. I will see you in the community. You all have a wonderful weekend. If I'll not make a video or see you tomorrow, hopefully I will. I will keep you informed. But that's all I had to say for now. So don't say that this channel does not give you value like no one else later. Because I am literally telling you that right now what this thing that... And you know what? More so, let me say, it might not be even the war. I can just tell you that the market makers and the institutions and the people who really matter in the broader spectrum, sort of a picture of the market, are preparing for something big. It could be the war, which I'm assessing and assuming that will be. It also could be aliens. I don't know. That's not my job. I'm not here to speculate. I'm simply here to analyze what the market gives me and find the best, most efficient way to play into it. See you all in the community. Bye-bye for now.